Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday morning where we are reckless as always. And continuing in the reckless fashion, because Kazi is back home until I think he's coming back until the beginning of the season because he's planning to be at Wembley doing the Community Shield game. So he's out of action. Anand is temporarily out of action, so he should be back soon. But Gally is the new Friday guy. What's going on, man?
It's basically a public service announcement to all. You have to deal with this skinny guinea on Friday. And if you are anywhere in the greater Liverpool area, Kazi is home. So we're putting out our own Scouser alert.
Yes, actually, that's the biggest PSA. I think the fact is that Kazi is somewhere in your neighborhood if you're in Liverpool today. So, yeah, and then he's staying there for quite some time. Like I say, I know he was planning on being on the Community Shield. So while we're doing the live watch along during the podathon over there, we'll see if he can hop on via phone or something like that live from the stadium. We'll have our correspondents on the stadium over there. So we're really going places over here. So we're gonna have correspondence and everything like that. So, okay, couple of news to get to. So we'll hit the headlines first. We'll talk about the official stuff first. So the whole Owen Beck thing happened. There was a rumor that he was going to go to Rangers. It wasn't even a rumor. There were offers. It sounds like we didn't like the offer. Is this a matter of, man, this kid maybe will go somewhere? We're not getting the offer that we really feel like we should for him. Let's play him another season. He'll either prove himself that he can be the future. And if we're keeping Robertson, for example, next season, he can be his successor as the backup and compete with Kirkes and stuff like that. Or worst case scenario, he'll have another good season and we will get what we want next summer.
Yeah, I think it's a little of both, right? 6-1, half dozen the other. I think he was doing well last year at Blackburn. And I think this was an opportunity to sell him to Rangers. If we got, I think it was 10 to 12 million. I think they wanted 10 million up front and 5 in add-ons. I mean, in installments, but that was roughly what they were looking for. I think on one of our shows, I said, if you get an offer of 6 guaranteed, you just take it and add some money to the transfer kitty. Clearly, there doesn't need to be anything added to the transfer kitty. They're just printing money. So I love this because he not only is going to a championship club with a manager he knows, by the way, he's joining up with the manager he had last year at Blackburn, where he was having a really good, successful loan spell. So manager likes him. He'll definitely be in the first team's thoughts. They are paying a fee, which means that they're going to play him. And he signed an extension, which means at minimum you get the same amount this year because he has a longer contract to a new club. And then if he's really good, you either have your long-term successor as your rotation piece and your backup to Kirkes, or you sell him for, maybe you get like a SEP type fee and it shocks everyone. And it's 20 million plus for a guy who never made a senior appearance outside of some random, cup match or Jurgen Klopp wanting to get a hug on a new guy, like being like, I will get my hug tally up to 842 separate hugs for Liverpool players during my tenure.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, personally, I have not seen enough of him to have like a solid or like an educated opinion on him. So I'm not going to make it. But I think in terms of them having not kind of being consistent and kind of almost not giving in from what they want for him, it's not like they were like, we got to move him. That tells me that the club sees some potential either as a player or as more of like a return on investment kind of a deal when we do sell him. So I think it's good for the kid too. It gives him something to work for because he's still a Liverpool player and he'll feel like, he can still battle for the position and stuff like that. And like we said, really depends on what happens in terms of the left back situation and who ends up staying. But he might be able to carve himself a space out there, especially if he has a good loan spell too. So that's a good deal. I was shocked to see it, to be honest with you, because I was more expecting the Rangers up their offer kind of a thing, and it's sealed as opposed to him signing an extension and stuff like that. Sergi, Alan, Tony, Hassan, good morning to everybody as we gather around over here. So next news that is official is Ekitike is over there hugging everyone on the pitch, on the practice pitch, like hugging Konate and all that kind of stuff. So he has joins. I saw a couple of quotes for him. There's a lot of quotes for him. I guess if you ask Serzi, there was like a ton of them over there. They'll probably come out in our social media pretty soon over here. In terms of being able to, I think probably the most interesting one is the fact that he says, he can go solo or he can play with like another striker. I did not see anything about, him very being keen on playing on the left or anything like that, though. It was more, it sounded like I can do a 3-5-2 or I can do a 4-4-2. Why the hell not kind of a thing, as opposed to, I would love to be on the left wing and stuff. Which the main reason I bring that up is obviously all the Isak talk is ridiculously heating up now that it's official pretty much that he wants out. Like he wants to go. The fact that he didn't travel and everything says everything you need to know. Is there a world still in your mind? Like we talked about it on Monday, but it feels like it has picked up more steam since when we talked Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, I joked on one of our shorts, which is me basically saying I'm not sure it will happen. I'm not sure it's a good idea to happen. And then I realized like these things never age well when they post 72 hours later and the news cycle changes. But then again, I say stupid shit all the time. But they are definitely in. I'm firmly in the camp now that they want this player. Now, I still don't know that it's a deal that will be very easy to make. I don't know that it'll happen because I don't know what'll happen in time. And that makes me a little nervous. Like I could see Newcastle literally agreeing to this deal eventually and being like, but we're not going to actually rubber stamp it until the 31st of September because there's no way he's playing for you against us the second week of the season. And we're not going to make life easier for you. We're not going to make life easier for him. We were going to sign Ekitike anyway, so we're comfortable shelling out the money for Sesko before you give us this money because we know it's coming. And it just makes me nervous because then you wait till the end of the window and there's a world where, maybe Alexander Isak doesn't pass the medical because he's had some muscle issues in the past. You're putting up that much money. I feel like you're like putting all your eggs in a saga that if it doesn't go your way at the end, it's a really slippery slope gamble because, I mean, as of right now, unless you're somewhere targeting Nunez and depending on what happens with Diaz, and maybe we'll talk about that later, you could leave yourself really short up top. And I just don't think, for two reasons. I don't think you want to be short when you have the ambitions this side has and you've spent like this club has spent. And two, I don't think I think part of the best reason to sign Isak is to take the ever-growing pressure off of Ekitike as he beds in at the beginning. That it's not all on him to score all the goals, to start through the middle, to be the frontline savior. And I think, yes, you have Verts and yes, you have Mo. But I just feel like if you're going to get Isak, you might even need to pay the premium it takes to have him in the next week to 10 days and not let it rumble on into after the season has started. That's a gamble I don't know if I would be up for.
See, I almost see it the other way around. If you know very clearly that you are going to get Isak, because they're not going to hang on to Isak. They're not going to sit on 120, 150 million if he doesn't want to play and if it doesn't look like he's going to play. That's not smart business to gain extra 10 million, 20 million fee. First of all, they play this really poorly, to be honest with you. I mean, we were I was on like solo show yesterday, just like hopped on the call-in show, and we were kind of talking a little bit about it. And I feel like, they play this really poorly in terms of going after Ekitike and stuff like that. And Liverpool almost has played it perfectly where we went and got Ekitike. Because I think the other way, they are really holding your ransom. If they grab Ekitike and sign him and say, okay, now Isak is, you guys were asking about Isak, now he's available kind of a deal. Now you are starting at 120 to 150 and you are at their mercy because your alternative Ekitike is gone too. They have him as well. I feel like Newcastle has played this bad because now their replacement is not out there. They have to secure the replacement. The moment they secure that replacement and sign him, I feel like that's announcing to the world that they will sell Isak. I think it all goes back to, I mean, what we've been talking about for like last month and a half, that it all depends on Isak and where he wants to go, what he wants to do. If he says, I'm not going to the Saudi league, I think because Newcastle has that in their back pocket, right? They can be like, oh yeah, you guys are playing hardball. Well, then he's going to our sister club, and then sell him over to Saudi. But if Isak says, I do not want to go to the Saudi league, that really puts Newcastle, I think, in a bind, because then there are not a lot of teams that can come in and afford it, not to mention have the slot for it to get Isak off of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're fine with. I mean, the fact that they look like they've gone really hard on Sesko now, I think they're comfortable with Sesko as a player. I think they'd be comfortable. I don't believe that they were trying to upset Liverpool or push them away. I think they genuinely thought they were going to sign Ekitike and have both of them. I don't think they played where they misplayed their hand was the Isak contract, in my opinion. They supposedly talked to him last summer. He wanted new terms. They went and refreshed Anthony Gordon to keep Liverpool away from him. They didn't give Isak the contract. They told him, play well this year, help us get in Champions League. We'll take care of you next year. And then he went to them and said, all right, now I had the best year of my career. I want money. I want 300 grand a week. And they said, we can't afford that. We're not doing a deal. And all of a sudden there was a quad injury and he's unsettled and he wants to go. I think if they'd given Isak 300K at the beginning of the summer and been able to secure a few players to show that they could build something around him, I think he was really, really happy there. But they did a few different things. They messed with the guy. They unsettled him. They've missed out on every one of their targets. I mean, Brian Mbeumo went to Man United instead of going there.
Yeah,
Kudus turned them down, went to Spurs. This morning, Trafford has got the here we go. He's going back to Manchester City. So he's not going to be the keeper. They've been talking about Trafford becoming the keeper for 18 months, it feels like. They still haven't signed a defensive player. And they brought in Anthony Elanga for 55 million after swinging and missing on 3 other players. And Ekitike turned him down. I mean, if you're Isak, they won't pay you. They can't. They have no pull to sign anyone. And every time they talk about signing someone, someone brings up reasons why they can't afford it. I don't blame them for wanting to leave.
See, I honestly feel like, and obviously we don't know which one is true, but I honestly feel like they knew all along where Isak stood. Like this, Isak did not just suddenly last week say, possible, like because of the reasons you're saying, they were like, okay, I want out of this. This is a mess over here. You guys can't get anybody. I can maybe see that, but I feel like this was the way all along, and this is Isak being the nice guy and not making it public and not making it obvious, so that Newcastle is not in the situation they're in now, where they almost have to sell, and it's clearly looking like they have to sell. Before, they had to be really wooed by like an offer and stuff like that. I think they knew Isak had one foot out the door, or his head was already turned in terms of going somewhere else all along. That's why I feel like the Ekitike thing was like an odd move to make so late into that. I don't think they plan to have both, personally. I don't think that was, because I don't know if they would play with 2 up top. And I know everybody is on board because we do want Isak and stuff, but I still don't see a world where Ekitike plays on the left, and I don't know if I want to, because we said the same thing. I think we were talking Monday morning or Monday night, that we said the same thing about Nunez too, and it's not the same. It's one thing for somebody to be able to play on the left and be able to play on the wing and stuff like that, but I don't know if you want to plan your season around it. That would be like planning your season around Diaz being in the middle, because he can play in the middle. I just don't think you sign them to be rotating with Gakpo similar to Diaz. Maybe you can do something where it's like a rotation of all 3 of them, and Slot keeps Isak healthy, kind of like he did with Konate.
Well, that's kind of my thing. I do think Slot is has enough tactical nous that if he wanted to figure out a way to play the 4 attackers, let's just call them that, right? Between Verts, Ekitike, Isak, and Mo, I think he could figure out a way to play maybe Isak as the guy at at the top of the pitch, kind of play Florian Wirtz more in like a left-sided attacking midfield role, like out a little bit wide, and then have Ekitike almost play off of him the way he did with Marmoush, but not in a true 3-5-2 type of system that Xabi played. And then the problem comes back to, then Ekitike's got to prove that he can do an awful lot of running and an awful lot of work, because we saw what Szoboszlai did to allow Mo to be Mo. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
Mo's going, yeah, I'm going to go back to running around and tracking back and defending like Sadio Mane so that these two strikers can play together around the
Yeah.
pitch. Like, I just don't see that. So I'm with you. I still think there's more questions to this than there are answers, but there is an awful lot of smoke. And usually when there's smoke like this, there is some level of fire. And the fact that Liverpool has pounced on such high end talent being available, and not just available, being not just connected, but wanting and desire to play at this club in this moment. I think Liverpool is just striking the way City did those few times where they'd win. You know, what did City do? They won the league with 100 plus points and then turned around and signed Holland, like Gundogan, and like another
Yeah.
player that summer. And they were just like, to the rest of the world. I feel like that's what Liverpool's doing right now. They're flexing financial muscle they've never shown that they had, and I think they always had. They just have the opportunity now to do it. And I think they feel like they have a manager who's embracing this much change and this much talent. And maybe the last guy didn't.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. I kind of like read that in the comments. I mean, it could be. I think maybe like it was a discussion on Discord or somewhere like that, where maybe we're spending the money now because this manager's okay with spending the money. I don't think it was that club would turn down a top player and stuff like that, but I think he would turn down this much change and this much turnover in terms of like releasing. I think the part was releasing, because when you bring in, you got to release some of the players. I think Klopp was a manager who kind of like valued more consistency, and
Yep.
I think he kind of liked the underdog role. Like he thrived on the underdog role, and I mean, go back to Dortmund's days. It's always like the same thing, right? Like these guys are like spending more money and they look more powerful than us, but we're better because we're together and stuff like that. So I think he kind of thrived that. I don't think he would turn down a player like Wirtz, for example, or anything like that. But in terms of this much change, I don't know if he would be too thrilled about it either. We've never done this. So it is kind of like a project that's easy to get people into right now, though. I think people are seeing that, if you want to be a part of this ordeal and the new project, you got to get your foot in the door now. Because let's face it, all the guys that are coming in are young guys. So the bus is leaving, so you got to get on it or we're gone, because we picked up all the kids and we're leaving, kind of a deal. So it would be different, I think, if you went and got some guys that are like in their prime but might about to go down, like a bunch of like 28, 29-year-olds or something like that, where you're like, oh, I'll be the successor. I think it's a project where like you got to get in now, man, because everybody is 21, 22, 23 and stuff like that. I mean, obviously Isak would be the old guy in the revolution, and he's like 25. I know he's about to turn 26 in a couple of months here, but
crazy.
he looks like the old guy.
Yeah, you have the two senior vets, the grizzled vets that are in their 30s that just got their long-term contracts of 2 years each. And then you have the keeper who has 2 years remaining, around 30, who most believe maybe he plays out the last 2 years. Potentially this might be his last season. So you really start looking around that room. The elder statesmen are the Isaks, are the, Kanates, Joe
Yeah.
Gomez. These are the oldest people in the room. Everybody else is literally, just 4 years removed from not being able to get past the bouncer at the door at the club,
Yeah.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Kirkez was in that
They
club
would,
when he was 14. He was in that club when he was 14. He had his brother's fake ID. They look enough alike, and he just like kicked in the back door, one or the other.
So it says we're doing legally. That's good afternoon. Well, good afternoon. So you must be on the other side of the pond. Yes. Welcome aboard, sir. Welcome aboard. Yeah, if you're watching us live, by the way, do me a favor. Do hit that like button. I always forget to ask. And it took 20 minutes for me to remember. So that tells you all you need to know. But it does definitely help the show. It does definitely help the channel. So really appreciate it. A lot of good stuff happening, by the way. So I'll try to get to that towards the end. But in terms of like the podathon and stuff like that, a lot of good stuff happening. We got like 3 sponsors over the last 3-4 days. So we're up to like 10 hours now, which means simple math, Gally, 14 hours
14
left.
more.
14 more. UK, yes. Awesome, man. Thank for hopping on. I appreciate it. I feel like a lot of the morning show actually is on the other side of the pond. We're like more like an afternoon show. Maybe the tea gets everybody over there. So,
or the Americans are pretending to work, unlike the two of us.
so like I can't watch it during work. Yeah, that could be too. That could be too. But yeah, okay. So yeah, I think that's why it's the way we're doing this is weird. The timing is weird, but I feel like because you're investing in so much young talents, and man, like I know we're kind of a little butthurt and anxious over the Ekitike thing, mainly due to Nunez. But you look at the players they're signing, I don't have a lot of. I mean, I'm not saying they're all gonna hit the ground running. That's almost impossible, especially I mean, we talk about how young they are. So it's sometimes a bit trickier to make adjustments. Some of these guys have never made like a big move like this. I think if you sign like a 25, 26-year-old who's made these moves. So, for example, I feel like Ekitike might have an easier time adjusting than maybe another player because he's already done the PSG to Germany thing and stuff like that. He's already done move to another country. I think kind of people look past that. I realize these guys make a ton of money. I realize they're professionals and stuff, but they're still freaking kids. We were talking about this with Angie the other day, like on our 6-mile walks, baby. So we're like doing the walk and we were talking, and we were talking about how young these kids are and stuff like that. And she was like, yeah, look at like Jasmine and Layla. Like the moment they went to college, our stock went up big time. They missed home, they got homesick and stuff like that. And like Jasmine is like 2 hours away in Milwaukee. Layla is literally in the city, like an hour away and stuff like that. So I don't care how professional they are. I don't care how much money they make. At the end of the day, they're human, they're kids, they're used to being with their family and stuff like that. It is a big adjustment for these guys. I heard Robertson talking about yesterday, like how big of a role like he plays and Mo plays and stuff like that in terms of getting these guys situated. I know we think, they're like, I need a house. And then, like it just appears, but these are all new to some of these kids. But my thing is, in terms of talents, I feel extremely confident that we have not really closed our eyes and thrown the dart. It's almost like talent-wise, they're almost like a lock in terms of quality.
He fits the profile like to a T of what the prototypical striker nowadays is. I mean, if you were looking for a player that if he hits the levels people believe he could become Alexander Isak, you're basically looking at a young raw version of him. And people forget that about Isak too, by the way. Like he had a slow burn to get to the player that got to Newcastle and took the Premier League by storm. He had what most people consider to be a failed experience in Germany at Dortmund. He was there for half a season before being loaned out. It didn't go well. He was supposed to sign for Real Madrid. He got cold feet right at the last second, said the lights were too bright, and ended up going to Dortmund instead. And he had to kind of rebuild himself at Real Sociedad before getting the opportunity. And when he came, there were a lot of people that doubted. They said, oh, he's too frail, he's too thin, he's a tall, lanky guy who runs awkwardly. I heard some of this shit by opposing supporters after we signed Ekitike. Didn't hear any of that crap when he was going to Newcastle. I heard, ha, 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 they're stealing a player from out from under you. I love that shit. I'd probably do it too, to be fair. But it's how I plan to bang on Mbomo. If Mbomo had come to Liverpool, he would have been the best player in the history of football. He decided to go to United. I'm like, he'll probably be shite. Just kidding. He's going to be really good, I think. But I look at it as a long-term commitment in a player. And I almost feel in some ways signing Isak to a deal, if it happens, is almost saying to him, we learned from our mistakes with Darwin Nunez. You are truly here to fight this number 9. And what's going to be really interesting is when all the players come and go and we find out what numbers are available and we see what kind of a struggle there is to grab numbers. Because I'm just going to go out on a limb. If Isak comes in and Diaz leaves, I got a feeling Isak wears 9, Wirtz wears 7, and Ekitike takes 14 off Chiesa when it comes time. And that's basically the little round robin that you get. And in my perfect world, they figure out what number Wesley Fofana wears to be the backup on the left wing. Because if you sign him as your fifth attacker, man, let's effing go.
Yeah, that is a crazy. I mean, the Diaz thing, I saw like there was a little bit of an update. It was more verbal, nothing official in terms of like Bayern basically saying, "So what do you guys want now?" Kind of like that's how I read that news. Is Bayern is really wanting to know like, so what are we gonna not turn down so we don't waste each other's time over here, kind of a thing. So that would be interesting to see if he does move on. I do think that's. I mean, we talk about Isak's head being turned. I think a little bit of that is the case with Diaz as well. He's not doing the Isak, not practicing or like away from the team and stuff like that. He's still doing his thing. But I think at the end of the day, that's a move that he probably wants as well. So yeah, the Ekitike thing, that's funny you mentioned that, because I remember, I don't think we would have these receipts, by the way, because I don't think we have Discord then, because I can't remember if it was a Euro or a World Cup that I was like, man, like, looks really good for Isak back then for his national team. But I remember the talk was he's too weak and like skinny for the Premier League.
I think it was the Euros.
Was it the Euros? Like he was like, man,
it was the Euros before the year he came to Newcastle when he was still in Spain. I'm pretty sure because he played for Sweden and they had that good run. And it was kind of like his coming out party. I'm pretty sure it was the Euros. I don't think it was the World Cup. It was probably 2020 Euros.
Could be, because I remember like watching Isak was a player and Bolo was another one that I was like, there's something there
For
if it
Switzerland.
works. Yeah. So I remember like those two players, and I remember with the Isak thing, it was like Embolo, it was like the technical aspect of it, but with Isak, it was the physical aspect of it, which now everybody's saying. I mean, I saw a couple of reels where he loses his balance and falls. It's not like, he wasn't even muscled out, but you're going to get that kind of like you're saying. I mean, you're going to poo-poo somebody else's signing kind of a thing to turn it down. But I think Liverpool has basically brought it to a point where you cannot. There's so many good players coming in. People can't keep up with poo-pooing all of them. They're like, okay, you can have that one. That one is good. And then, like, I'll just go hammer on like Ekitike or something like that. But I mean, this all goes back to what you were saying in the beginning. Newcastle probably does not want to face Isak because it's week 2, right? Match day 2 is the Newcastle game. So if that doesn't happen, the issue ends up being numbers and your backup plan if you go into the season. Or do we do the same thing to Bayern and say, yeah, until we get the other guy, you can't have this guy? In terms of like,
that's a weird one. I know I've read that Liverpool has claimed that signing Isak is not contingent upon selling Luis Diaz. I just don't see a world where you don't cash in on Diaz.
Yeah.
Knowing you're bringing that money in along with the Chiesa money, along with the Darwin money and the Tsimikas money, that huge money you're getting for that essential Greek left back. No, I don't think you can make.
So are we, by the way, settled on this, that we are getting Costas money, not Robertson money?
I'm settled on it, but maybe that's.
I've been settled on it for quite some time.
I just don't want to listen to you every week for the next year and a half. I'm confident we are. I still think Leeds United will come in. They haven't done much business. I think Leeds will come in and make a bid for Tsimikas. There were some reports this morning. I don't know, touch on it, but there were some reports this morning on Twitter that, and it's been a couple different journals, that Harvey Elliott actually had a meeting with Arne Slot to talk about his role with the club and wanted some level of assurances around minutes and game time before making a decision. All reports are he didn't hear what he wanted to hear, and that that he understands he will be 6th, 7th choice in the midfield, 6th, 7th choice in attack, and therefore I think that puts an end to that. And now there's talk that Newcastle is interested, as well as potentially, I think it was Forest, Fulham, and I forget who the last one was.
I can see why a lot of clubs would be interested, because I mean, it's a young talent with huge potential. So the interest part is easy in terms of like giving him a guarantee for playing time and giving us the money we want is probably the tricky part. Because I can't see any team saying like Elliott's no thanks. I mean, everybody is going to be interested just purely by his age, homegrown, and he has so much going for him in terms of like checking off those boxes. But how much would they pay for him? Damn, Dara even pulled up the game. I know, I thought it was throughout the, but that might be one game
Got
that's
something
really
right
where
for
he stuck
once.
out.
I got something right for once. Well, it's half right because I'm pretty sure the 2020 Euros was played during 2021 because of the pandemic.
I think so. I think that
even
was
when
that
I'm right,
tournament.
I'm wrong. I
Yeah,
feel
go
like
ahead.
with Harvey. No, I feel like with Harvey though, like as much as something like the Newcastle thing, it's the sensationalist part, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, we'll give you Harvey for 40, and you give us Isak for 130." Like
in-store credits.
I kind of feel exactly in-store credit. I kind of feel like the type of move that makes sense for him, though he could maybe try to fight his way into like a Spurs side, but they have Madison. They're trying to sign Gibbs White. We'll see where that drama ends up unfolding. But like a West Ham, as much as it's not a Champions League side, they were in Europe a few years ago, so there is potential there. You have Bowen, you have the bones of a decent setup. Graham Potter, though he had the failed time at Chelsea, he showed at Brighton he can coach young players and he can get a lot out of talent, and especially if they allow it to build his system. I feel like West Ham's issue is they need Paqueta to be relieved of those charges. Because if Paqueta was relieved of those charges, I genuinely think they would get an offer from Saudi for 50, 60 million probably for him. They love a good ex-Brazil international. They love a player that had some highlights a few years ago that, he's a Bruno Fernandes light type of player. So I could see a Saudi team stumping up some cash. And I feel like West Ham would be a perfect place for Harvey. It's not the end of your career. It could be a 3-4 year stop. I think they would build their entire setup around Harvey Elliott being their number 10 and playing it into Bowen and those little 1-2s, like what he's done in the past with Mo on the right-hand side, taking up that space. And I think it could be a really good fit. He's from London. It's a big club as far as having a big fan base. And I do think he would flourish there, and it would give him the platform to make another step later in his career to another club.
You think it's a move any fan base looks at though and says, "Ooh, this is sweet. We got Elliott to build our thing around."
I
Not
think
that they're the ones paid writing the checks, but you know what I mean. Look, in terms of as a fan,
I don't. But you know what? Those West Ham fans were throwing a party when Kudus left, and he's the most talented player to play at the club in the last 10 years. They were throwing a party because he wasn't a great player to root for and he was difficult to get behind. I don't think Harvey Elliott is difficult to get behind.
Yeah.
I think they're realistic, and they just saw what he did at the U21s. And I know you're playing against talent that's less superior to you. I just fear Harvey in his mind is like, I got to go to a top club now because I was at a top club. And at one point, a manager made me believe I was like at the level of all the players at this top club. And I think Harvey had it built into his mind at 17, he was going to be a world football superstar at Liverpool. And I think it didn't work for him at the end. Injuries, new manager, new system. I think he has to go somewhere, show it, and then get that move. I'm fearful he's going to hold out trying to go to Dortmund and maybe find that he doesn't get as many minutes or as many opportunities as he would at West Ham. And World Cup next year, I absolutely think if he goes to West Ham or he goes to Brighton, he is on that plane with Thomas Tuchel.
But if he's in that role, like if they do commit to him and playing him,
that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, I think so too. I just don't know. And I think the whole Veers thing, I still hold a scenario where we just don't know how Veers is going to be utilized, but I can keep a scenario in my head still. I made this theory like a month ago. I'm sticking to it, where the only other guy that can kind of slot into that role would be maybe Szoboszlai, but Elliott feels like a more natural fit to do what we're wanting Veers to do. If we build a system where, like we're expecting to do certain things, I feel like the natural fit, maybe it feels like that more maybe based on size and stuff like that. But in terms of creativity, being good on the ball, being good in tight spaces and stuff like that, whatever we're asking Veers to do on a regular basis, you can like take him out at the 70th minutes and you introduce like Elliott over there. But it goes back to, I mean, yeah, I know, like, you know, they got the coffins out and like just like throwing like gold coins all over the place and stuff. But at the end of the day, they will kind of turn around and be like, okay, you know, we did the business. Let's recoup some of these. This guy is like seventh in the depth. I mean, if he's sixth or seventh in that depth chart and he's worth 40, 50 in the markets, why are you going to let him rot down there too? If Slot says, yeah, I don't see a scenario where he's going to get a lot of minutes kind of thing. With how much guys from Brighton, Brentford are going for, yeah, that's a good point too. I think it really depends on the club though, right? And here is my fear. Like I always go back to if I'm his dad, the fear I would have is like, okay, like you look at Brentford, for example, right? Last year, a move to Brentford was not too shabby of a deal. Because you'll be like, hey, it's up and coming. Frank is there. They're playing the style. Like I would have said, hey, you know, like Elliott's. If they wanted Elliott, for example, if Brentford called for Elliott, if I'm Elliott's, 6 months ago, I'm like, hey, that looks pretty darn good. Now I'm like, ugh, I don't know. Like you can go into a situation, it might look good on paper, wages and stuff like that, but you can be going to the dumpster fire and kind of get lost in the mix and lose your value. I'm not saying you will get relegated, go all the way to the championship. Somebody in the Premier League might still hang on to you and transfer you. But from that really dream scenario of I'll go over there, that'll be my next step into getting a regular spot at the top team. And you can step on basically horseshit and be stuck over there. Like Brentford, I think is a big example. I haven't gotten the chance to chat with Glenn in the panel in quite some time, but I would be very worried, for example, if I'm a Brentford fan in many aspects, not only the players you lost, the manager you lost, and kind of maybe some of the swagger that came with what they were doing last year.
I think the manager is more important than any of the players, and I love Embuemo, but I will remind people glam on to the 20 goals, 7 assists. 8 of those goals were penalties that will be taken by another player this year at Man United. And I'm not sure they'd be clamoring over their $62.5 million guaranteed signing at 26 if he only had 12 Premier League goals. And the year before, 2 years ago, when Tony was there, he had 13 goals because he didn't take penalties. So I do just kind of pour that water on. I think Brentford, the coach is important. But what Brentford did was defend well. And another thing that Brentford did really well is they scored from all over the pitch. And I know it was Embuemo and Visa. They're trying to hold on to Visa. People forget that they bought a record striking signing last year, Thiago, who is back healthy.
Yeah.
That is there. They still have Kevin Shada. Obviously, Carvalho is a punchline here, but he is there. They still have Damsgaard. They have some talent, and they've signed a couple smart players. It looks like they're going to get the Hutchinson kid from Ipswich, who showed pretty well in the Premier League when he was healthy, former Chelsea player. And they have the best backup goalkeeper in the world. So I have a feel who's now their number one. So I have a feeling that Brentford is going to surprise some people. They're still going to finish bottom half, but I think they're going to be okay. I don't think Harvey Elliott should go there, but I think they're going to be okay.
I think what happens is the guys that are coming up, I mean, we talked a lot about this at the end of last season. Like, there's such a huge dip. Unless you're just god-awful, you're going to be safer from relegation. You're going to be in that 12, 13, 14 zone because you're going to probably feast on the guys that are coming up. Leeds is the only team, by the way, off the top of my head right now, that I feel like might be able to hang around. Because otherwise, this 3 up, 3 down is going to be a norm, looks like. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, no, Sunderland's done good business, but I just feel like they had so much business to do. I think the buys they're making are good, but I just don't feel like they're going to have enough, you're right, to stay up. I think you're going to see the same 3 up, 3 down. Maybe Leeds can stick around if they do some good business, but they still haven't got rid of the manager yet. And if Daniel Farke is your manager, you are destined to play in the championship. That is just plain as day.
So he can feel at home. He's like, let's go back.
I mean, he's like, can I get fired so, someone in the championship like Norwich can give me a job? I'll bring him up. I'm homesick. And right back down.
Man, I thought we left this Yin thing on Wednesday. It's still here for long. Go ahead, shoot it, Dara. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Yin thing. Thanks, Ozan, for the typo, by the way. It's really stuck around.
The thing I was going to say about Elliott, one team I think I forgot if he was interested in the Premier League that I think would be a really good fit for him, both tactically. I think there's position for him, and again, it's another club where he'd be comfortable. I almost feel like Palace could be perfect for him, especially if Eze moves on, because there's a hole in their midfield for a creative player on either side because of losing Elise and now Eze this year. You still have Mateta through the middle, and I think Glasner might be the best manager outside of the guy at Bournemouth in the Premier League, not coaching in one of the top 5 or 6 sides in the country. So I think Glasner is a proven winner for what he did at Frankfurt, what he did with Palace last year.
I can see
I think
that.
players have gotten better there. I could see that being a really good fit for him as well.
I think their style kind of fits him too, because he's that guy that can do that pass and start the counter and stuff like that. He is that player. And there you go. We can get the in-store credit again and be like, hey, Elliott's and 5 for Gahey or something like that. And, use that in-store credit to get Gahey. Because, I mean, that is still a big hole left in there. I know that's the funny thing, like we move on, really spoiled now, where we move on from like transfer to transfer. Even Ekitike did not get his day, I feel like, because of all this Isak talk. But one thing that kind of went by the wayside and what people are forgetting is we still do only have 3 center backs. Somebody I was listening to some the other day and they offer Robertson as an option. No, I don't think Robertson would offer himself as an option at center back. And we saw why. Albeit I know it was preseason and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, he's not, you don't want to. Robertson has never been like really strong defensively or something like that. He's always had that like the pitbull tackle and stuff like that with him. And that's the one. Oh, I didn't know it was trivia, man. Who was the last Swedish player to play for Liverpool? And who do we sign him from? Okay, see, I only ask trivia questions. I don't answer the Swedish player. God damn. I have a blank now. Wait. Swedish. No, Googling that shouldn't even be a thing in 2025. I see you are Googling. I see the TV screen. What you got there? Who's Swedish? I know who is it. I can't.
I got nothing on this. I'm waiting for Dara's answer because
It's gonna be way before my day. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, if it is, that's before my day. And Thursday, that's Google, bro. There's no way you pull that out. I will be very impressed if you did, though. Matush says, can you imagine the first time you meet all your coworkers, your boss, and company legends in front of 20,000? Yeah, that was like a really, really awkward thing, by the way, where it's just like in the middle of the stadium. We're like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Like just shaking hands with
it reminded me
people who are already practicing.
I was gonna say, you know what it reminded me of a little bit, like, and I know it's not real because that's the whole point of what this felt fake, like contrived. It almost reminded me of the way like the WWE or WWF used to like introduce new talent in a stadium by having them just like walk in through the crowd and like the announcer would get all like crazy and loud and be like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah is here. Like they didn't already know and they didn't have the script in front of them. Like it almost felt like that. Like they were like, hey, what can we do to drum this up? What will get lots and lots of clicks on social media? How about a whole bunch of hugs and the realization that this SOB is taller than Virgil van Dijk?
Yeah, I mean, it was just odd. I mean, I know what Matosh is saying. Like, it would be, you have to feel, as Ekitike, it's already an awkward thing if it was in a locker room to just walk and be like, hey, Van Dijk, what's up? So it's already awkward for a kid like that doing that because he's a kid at the end of the day. But so, yeah, Dara says Serzi is the quickest Googler. That's where I'm putting my money on, too. But see, I always listen to the Thursday night show like during Friday. So I always like catch up like 24 hours later. I rarely get to follow it live on that one. But yeah, see, what club did we sign him from? The Gray, really? I don't put that with him for some reason. Melvin says, what's going on, sir? Good morning. Hi, young boys. What will have front 3 for the Bournemouth game? Man, that That is throwing darts on the wall. You already did it, though.
I did, but let's just be excited for the fact that he called us young.
Yeah, I think that was like tongue in cheek. So I didn't take too much pride in that. I didn't take. I'm not running with that one. That's for sure. Hold on, this is really going over there, the trivia part of it. I think you talked about it a little bit on Monday night, but I feel like with things ever changing as of now, and you would think now, with the weekend, I don't know when we would see Ekitike in the, wearing the jersey out there on the pitch. I don't think it will be tomorrow, obviously. So
I
I
think
don't know how
Wednesday.
many games. You would think so, right? Maybe like a 15, 20 minutes appearance on Wednesday kind of a deal. But I do still think when we do start, unless something crazy happens, and the fact that Isak is not actually traveling and practicing with the team, even if he did join, it would not be immediate for him to get trotted out there, knowing his injury history with hamstrings and stuff like that too. So I do think it's Mo Ekitike. Okay, if we're going with as of now, I
think
honestly think I think it's like Gakpo, Diaz, Mo. If it is today,
correct. If you assume Diaz is leaving, then Ekitike probably starts through the middle, unless Isak gets signed in the next week to 10 days. But if you're like me and you think the only way you're getting Isak is probably like right at the end of the window, then I think you'd probably see a Gakpo, Ekitike.
Like they allow him to get on our bus on the way back. You're like, yeah, you can go back with them. But, that could be. But yeah, I do not see a world where talking like really little time. There'll be a lot of confidence in the kid, though, to be honest with you. If I see him trotted out there with like Diaz on the left, with him in the middle and stuff.
Do you think the lineup we see in the Community Shield, Charity Shield, whatever it is you like to call it these days, do you believe that starting 11 will be what we get 5 days later at Bournemouth, or because it's a Friday night match coming off a Saturday afternoon kickoff there at Wembley and how do you think they approach it? Do you think it goes all in?
I don't think so, because I almost feel like they're two different games too, and that's one thing I like about Slot is more like horses for the courses kind of a deal. And yeah, like Matthias says, like you will see probably Gravenberg against Palace, but you're not going to be able to see him against Bournemouth.
You'll see him against Palace. I'm not confident that you're going to see McAllister to start the season. He still hasn't done a single training session with the squad.
Oh, actually, I read the other day that he's doing some stuff, but he's not with the squad.
I didn't think he was fully back yet. So
kind of a thing.
Getting more and more nervous.
By the way.
I'm getting more and more nervous that they see this as like not a major injury, but something that they need to manage already. And I think if you're managing a muscle type injury over a 4-month period since last May to now, and it's not fully healed and or fit, I think it is a concern, especially with how the midfield's built up. So I wouldn't be shocked, if McAllister can't go against Bournemouth, you probably see Szoboszlai and Jones.
Yeah, right. Unless you see Ando. I mean, you would think you're going to see a lot of Ando now in Japan, I would think, in the starting lineup and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if, you would see him starting against Bournemouth, and that would almost force your hand to play that midfield with like Jones and Szoboszlai in there. It's very attacking against Bournemouth over there. So, but you are home, so you got that going, and then you get Gravenberg obviously back.
And I think Mac will be ready. I think Mac will be ready by the 15th. I really hope he'll be ready by the 15th. It's still 3 weeks away. 3 weeks from today, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, I was talking to a couple of people about like the Potathon, for example, and I'm like, oh, snap. We got to really get going over here because there's like 2 weeks left, pretty much 2.5 weeks. I mean, almost 2 weeks, really. 2 weeks and 2 days. This time, 2 weeks, we will already be in New York, basically on this Friday, getting ready for the next day kind of a thing. So Georgie says, I'm seriously a sad person that enjoys Trivial Pursuit. 80s and that, see, like I started in 84. Well, I started 74, but I started the fandom in 84, but really not as closely because it was kind of like as a kid in Istanbul. it's kind of hard to really follow it, especially back then where we didn't have all this internets and stuff like that. Yes, this jackass. I knew he would come on and say that. What's the 80s? Basically everything I wanted to say in a hand gesture over here. Tomorrow, obviously, I mean, it's preseason. I hate to say on these, in terms of like what to expect or what to look for. You're going to be looking for a lot of Endo, like I said, that's a guarantee. But aside from that, it's just like a preseason game for the most parts, and it's going to be. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but I was looking at the highlights of the Arsenal AC Milan game, and Odegaard was still out there in the 94th minute. And I could have sworn I saw him in the first half highlights too. So that's why I was like, why are these guys playing so many minutes? Usually, you see the 45, the second half 45 kind of a thing. I don't know if we'll see it in these or he'll start to do the 60 minutes, 70 minutes as we come closer to the season and stuff like that. But we'll do the live watch along. Are you hosting the watch along, by the way?
That was the plan. I'm going to send out a message in a little bit on Discord to see if I got anyone else. I don't know that I can do 2 hours at 5:30 in the morning by myself, or 6:30.
Wait, tomorrow is the regular time, isn't it? Wednesday is the crack of dawn.
I thought they were both cracks of dawn.
I thought tomorrow was like 6:30 my time, which would make it
okay.
7:30 your time kind of a thing, if I remember this right.
That would be better. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely do it. I'm hoping to have some folks. So if you are planning to watch, give it a whirl. Let's see here tomorrow.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot easier searching Liverpool schedule. I'm sure somebody. Oh, he did came in the second half. Okay, I was like, man, I saw him in the 94th, and I was like, I could have sworn I saw him in the first half highlights too, and I was like, yeah, see, it's 4:30 for him. So it is 6:30 for us. 6:30 a.m. for me, 7:30 a.m. for you. The one on Wednesday is
the early one.
Yes. I will do the watch along. I will host the watch along for that one. It'll basically replace the morning coffee show in the crack of dawn. Yes. Is she?
Yeah, it looks,
never met her.
Yeah. Lovely girl. Unbelievable, Tony. I lost all semblance of thought. Doesn't take much here.
No, it does not.
Yeah,
especially in the morning.
We'll do it tomorrow. It looks like tomorrow is on Paramount Plus, but it'll also be on LFC TV, all red access for those who haven't realized that their subscription from LFC TV changed. But yeah, we'll do the watch along. I'll put out a comment in a few minutes, see what other fools might be able to
I get a couple of other bozos in there, but yeah, we'll be live for that. So do join us, turn the volume of the TV, and then we'll kind of like look and see. I mean, last year's preseason was interesting because we wanted to see what we're going to see out of Slot that was different than Club. Because God knows it wasn't like seeing new players last season. This season, it's a lot of new players and how Slot's going to use them, or like, can we see something that we can kind of take forwards? I have not so far, I'll be honest with you, in the first couple of preseason games, but it would be interesting to see. Yeah, I see Hassan is in LA, so 4:30 for him too. Well, set the alarms now, kids, and join us then 6:30 tomorrow morning, 6:30 Central tomorrow morning, 7:30 Eastern, and 4:30. I don't know, might as well stay up and then just watch.
Don't go to bed.
Sleep. Yeah, it's the weekend. Just party all night, watch the game, go to sleep. I was talking to someone, Lee, who's actually with like Redman TV and stuff like that. We were chatting on WhatsApp yesterday, and I do think, we were talking about international fans and all that kind of stuff, and because he's obviously in Liverpool, and we were talking about that's commitments. Like if you follow a team, if you want to show commitment, getting up 4:30 in the morning, or sometimes like some of these guys even meet at the pub and stuff, which means you have to get up at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning to go. That shows fandom, that shows commitment. If anything else, it's easy to just roll around at like 2:00 and watch the game.
It's like the people in India that follow the Premier League and they're getting up at 12:30, 1:00 in the morning to watch these big matches. Like, I mean, that's a real struggle because you're like, do I go to sleep and wake up? do I just sleep through the night and look at my phone at 4 in the morning and you get the updates? Now I know what would happen to me. I'd wake up at 2:30 in the morning and have to go to the bathroom. I'd look at my phone, I'd see it was a tie match, and I'd be like, all right, now I'm up. And I'd end up downstairs
Yeah,
on the couch
exactly.
watching the rest of it. But yeah, it is tough to be a foreign fan. Obviously, it's always more difficult. The time difference doesn't make it easy. But it'll be interesting. Do you expect them to do the 45-45 tomorrow? I almost feel like tomorrow we might see the last of the 45-45s, and then for the following preseason match, and then the two that we play at Bilbao or at home against Bilbao, which is weird because they're on the same day. We might see guys push the whole 90 and maybe some young academy players use to
I think
do
you
the
get
20-minute runouts.
70 on that one, the Bilbao. You get a lot of like 70s out there and stuff like that. But tomorrow, I think we will start to see in this tour, the travel and stuff obviously changes a lot of things, but I do think we don't see like a whole new 11, but we do see like, 5-6 coming in at halftime and another like 5-6 coming in like the 60th minute or something like that is what I'm guessing.
What are you most excited to see tomorrow? Is it Verts? Is it the rapid Frimpong? Is it Kirkes's crazy tackles with his head while laying on the ground? Like what are you?
Look, you know exactly what you're getting there, right? You just explain everything you're gonna get from like Kirkes. So I'm like, it's almost like a given. It's nice to see. I mean, I just love seeing a young Robertson, the same pitbull attitude, going up and down,
kicking people.
And honestly, he has it doesn't take a whole lot, but he has a better right foot, I feel like, than Robertson too, because Robertson doesn't have it. Robertson's kind of like
he uses
the other one to stand on. That's how I was with my left foot. It was just there for balance, and that was it. And then sometimes like you would do something with your left foot, and it would be like something very simple, but it would feel like you scored like a screamer or something like that, because you do the simple pass with your left. At least that's how I was. But Beards probably. Obviously, we didn't see him in one of the games already in the preseason, so we haven't seen a lot of him. I just want to see how he's used more than the player. I think we've seen enough highlights and we've watched enough probably games over time of like where he's played. I just want to see how he's used in the system and how it works. And one interesting to see tomorrow, by the way, is who starts at right back? Do we see another thing where like he tries Bradley and Frimpong on at the same time
together? That was going to be one of the things I was excited to see. Does he do that again? Was that more of a one-off scenario because he knew Stoke was going to play back? I don't think you'll see Szoboszlai at right back tomorrow. Maybe you could see Jones there, or maybe even you could see Gomez there if he just wanted to get extra minutes in his legs. But he didn't bring Stevenson. There aren't a lot of the young kids on this tour. So to me, this looks like a very workman-like business tour. Yeah. I am excited to see the guy, gigantic goalkeeper again, because I'd like to see him with a little bit. Well, I want to see him with a little bit more to do. I want to see him playing against a European side that has aspirations to compete in their league and can attack a little bit. I don't think we saw a lot from Preston in that first half. So it'll be interesting to see how Mamardashvili does. Is his distribution where it was last time? But I really think it's kind of interesting. I could see Bradley starting, or actually I could maybe see Frimpong even starting, and then taking Mo off at 45 minutes, bringing Bradley in to start the second half and moving Frimpong up again for like 15 minutes. So you get the double look at both. Because it was really fun to watch. And I got to say, I know it's just training videos and they only show you on LFC TV what you want to see.
Yeah.
But when you couple that with the physical build, what looks like physical maturity, like growth, size, and all the highlights, both played and in training, Bradley looks like a kid, like on a mission to like really fight for a spot. He looks really, really good. Like if one player looked like he didn't take a day off this summer, it's the kid who they were already talking about, the replacement that was coming to replace the guy. He felt like he was there to replace.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday, like in an interview and stuff too. And maybe it's like an optical illusion, but he looked bigger. Like he looked more buff too. Like he's been in the gym kind of a thing. And honestly, like, when transfers came onto the scene, 59 minutes, by the way, new record. Actually, we almost went a full show the other day. I think we might have done a full show with no Trent mention. But when he came on first, he was like a really skinny kid, and he eventually kind of grew and got a lot stronger and grew into the body. He still didn't defend, but he at least got stronger. I feel like, Bradley, if he takes that step, he could be your right back. And then you have your Frimpong as well, change of pace, and obviously right wing option and stuff like that. Exciting season, man. So that's the thing. It's a lot to watch in a preseason game. So tune in tomorrow, watch it with us, yak with us as we watch 6:30 Central. We'll probably start 5-10 minutes before the game. I know there's a whole point in doing a lot of pre-match on these over here. This was pretty much the pre-match in terms of what we want to see. But do tune in tomorrow. Have an awesome Friday, everybody, and we'll see you guys with dawn, in the crack of dawn, whatever it might be. So have a good Friday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.